Alright, so we're doing 3.6, factoring three terms in a GCF. Alright, looking at our first problem, x squared plus 8x plus 15, we can identify there's no GCF because none of these three terms can be factored by a common factor. So no GCF, which leads us to our first step, a times c. So we have a, b, and c. So a equals 1, c equals a 15. 1 times 15 is obviously 15, which leads us to our second step, finding the factors that will add up to 8 and multiply to give us 15 still. So the possibilities are 1 and 15, and 3 and 5. So 3 and 5 will work because it gives us 3 times 5 equal 15, and then 3 plus 5 equals 8. So that leads us to our, our third step, grouping the first terms and the second terms together. So it gives us x squared plus 3x that we get from that factor, plus the other 5x, because that added up gives us the 8x that we needed from our original problem, plus 15. And then grouping those. Alright, so this leads us to our fourth step, factoring out the GCF for each group binomial. Here's the first group and there's the second group. So by the first one, you can only take out an x. So x, and then that leaves us with an x plus 3 left over. And then do the same thing for this grouped binomial. We can take out 5. Which leaves us over with an x plus 3. Alright, these should match. And then these will go together for our final answer. So our final answer would be, let's change colors. X plus 5, x plus 3. And that is the factored form for x squared plus 8x plus 15.
Alright, so this is our second problem. Our first step is to find the GCF. And by looking at it, these three terms are all factorable by 2. So, to get our new equation, we want to take out the GCF, making it 2, x squared plus 5x plus 6. So, now that you have your new equation, you want to multiply a and c. So this is your a, b, and c. So a is 1 and c is 6. So knowing that, you multiply it, and obviously it is 6. So now that you found that, you want to find the factors of 6 that add to give 5. So our first factors will be 1 and 6, and our others will be 2 and 3. Alright, so our factors 2 and 3 will work. So 2 times 3 equals 6, which is our C. And 2 plus 3 equals 5, which is our B. Okay, for the fifth step, we want to group the first terms together and the second terms together. So this is our first group term, and this is our second group term. Now, since we have our group terms, we need to factor out the GCF for each group binomial. Alright, from the first group binomial, all we can take out is an x, leaving us with an x plus 3. So, it's going to be 2x, because that's what we were left with, x plus 3 plus, so now you want to take the GCF out of this, so it will be 2, so leaving us with an x plus 3. These two must match, and if they don't, you went wrong somewhere. And these go together. So our final answer will be our GCF, our first term, multiplied with our matched pair.
Okay, so this is our third problem, 3x squared plus 18x plus 24. So our first step is to identify the GCF. So looking at all three of these terms, all of them are factorable by 3. So that leads us to our second step, dividing every term by 3. So that leaves us with 3 x squared plus 6x plus 8. Okay. Now that we know this, we know A is 1, B is 6, and C is 8. Third step. A times C. A times C equals 8. So now we have to find the factors that find the factors of 8 that add up to give us 6. So 1 and 8, and 2 and 4. Obviously it's 2 and 4 because 2 times 4 equals 8, and then, alright, and then giving us 2 plus 4 to equal our B, which is 6. So these two factors will work. Okay, so following our fourth step, when we pull apart the B, giving the factors 2 and 4, it gives us our new equation, 3 being the GCF, so x squared plus 4x plus 2x plus 8. Okay, so that leaves us grouping the first terms together. That's one, and that's our second. So, final step. We take out each GCF from each binomial. So from this one we can take out only an x, but that leaves us with an x plus 4. So it'll be 3 parentheses x parentheses x plus 4. And then this group binomial we can take out a 2, leaving us with an x plus 4. Looking at these, we know it's right because these match, and then these will go together for our final answer. So 3 x plus 2 x plus 4. And this is the factored form for our final equation.
Okay, so this is our new problem. So our first step is identify the GCF. So looking at these three terms, we can tell that our GCF is 2. So, since we have that, we need to take out our GCF. So our GCF is 2. So we want to divide it. So now it's going to be 2x squared plus 15x plus 18. So now that we have that, multiply A and C, 2 and 18, to give us 36. So now that we found 36, we need to find the factors that multiply to 36 and add to give 15. So the factors of 36 are 1 and 36, 2 and 18, and 3 and 12. Now looking at this, we can tell that 3 and 12 will be our factors. Because of this, 3 plus 12 equals 15, and 3 times 12 equals 36. So our equation would be 2x squared plus 12x plus 3x plus 18. So the fifth step will be to group the first terms together and the second terms together because we pulled apart the b using the factors we got from step 4. So we grouped our first group term and our second group term. So now we want to factor out the GCF for each grouped binomial. So just from looking at this, we can see that our GCF from it is 2x. So if we divide the 2x from both, it will be x plus 6. If we define the GCF out of this, GCF would be 3. After we divide the 3, it would be x plus 6. But don't forget about your GCF from the very beginning, so you need to put it in the 2 in front of your full equation. Now, for your final answer, these must match and these go together. So your final answer will be 2 parentheses 2x plus 3 and x plus 6.
Okay, got another equation here, 12x squared minus 29x plus 15. Looking at this equation, usually we would take out a GCF, but on this one specifically we can't because negative 29x, our b, is prime. So, skipping that step, we'll go a times c, so 12 times 15 equaling 180, leading us to our next step, finding the factors of 180 that will add up, giving us our b, negative 29x. So after eliminating all the factors, we have found out it would be negative 9 and negative 20. Because negative 9 times negative 20 equal 180, and negative 9 plus negative 20 equal negative 29. So as we split up the b, pulling apart the b, we know it'll be 12x squared, so 12x squared minus 20x minus 9x plus 15. After that, we have all 4 of our terms written out because we pulled apart our b, which is still equaling our original negative 29x, grouping those into 2 separate ones, leading us to our 4th step. Now, we factor out a GCF for each group binomial. So for this one, we can take out a 4x. So 4x taken out of 12x squared minus 20x leaves us with 3x minus 5. Then, taking out a GCF for our second group binomial, we can take out a negative 3, leaving us with another 3x minus 5. So, looking at our final step, we can conclude that these two match, we know we are correct because, and then these two will go together. So for our final answer in factored form would be 4x minus 3 multiplied 3x minus 5.
So our final problem will be 5x squared minus 17x plus 6. We know that there's no GCF because negative 17 is a prime number. So that moves us to our first step, a times c. So the a times the c is 30, which leads us to our second step. We need to find factors of 30 that add to give negative 17. The factors would be negative 15 and negative 2. Negative 15 plus negative 2 equals negative 17. And negative 15 times negative 2 equals 30. Splitting the b will give us two terms, therefore making us able to group the first terms together and the second terms together. So from this step, we get 5x squared minus 15x and negative 2x plus 6. As we gather the information from the third step, we can now factor out the GCF for each group binomial. So, the GCF for this group would be 5x, leaving us with x minus 3. The GCF from this group would be negative 2, leaving us with x minus 3 again. Now, since these match, we knew we did something right. So those go together, and these go together, making our final answer 5x minus 2 and x minus 3. Thank you, and good night.